Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today we're suiting up and diving headfirst into the movie that launched a universe Iron Man.
A universe, you say?
Well, more like a whole interconnected web of them, but we'll get to that.
Right.
What's got us strapped in today is how Iron Man, even back in 2008, wasn't just about the whiz-bang tech and superheroics. It's Stark's journey that really makes this one tick.
It's interesting you say that because the film throws us right into the thick of things, but in a surprisingly subtle way. You'd think with a guy known for weapons, we'd open on some massive explosive action sequence. But instead...
We get that quiet, almost eerie aftermath in the desert.
Exactly. Stark, face to face with the consequence, but it's so clean, Makes you wonder, how does a guy like him even process that?
It's like the film itself is holding its breath, trying to figure out alongside him if he even can connect to the weight of what he creates. Those opening shots, the shrapnel is so close to his heart, it's unsettlingly still. Makes you lean in, almost like you're analyzing the blast radius yourself.
And that's precisely where the film starts to unpack its brilliance, by making us question. Does Tony Stark at this point even grasp the very human cost of what he builds?
It's like he's looking at the world through one of his own targeting systems, precise, clinical, detached.
Which is where that cave scene becomes absolutely crucial. It's Stark, stripped bare, literally and figuratively imprisoned. No more gadgets, no billion-dollar safety net. Just him facing his own mortality. And how does he react?
By inventing his way out of it, of course. Even staring death in the face, he rigs that electromagnet, keeps his heart ticking, and unknowingly lays the foundation for everything Iron Man becomes.
That's what's so fascinating about him. This drive to build, to solve. It's not just a job. It's like it's woven into his DNA. That clunky Mark armor isn't just an escape road. It's almost, well, he's building a new skin for himself, right?
Yeah.
Mirroring the internal struggle he's going through.
And it makes you think about all the tinkering back in his workshop later on, even after he's safe. It's not just about improving the suit, is it?
Go on.
It's like each adjustment, each refinement is him processing the trauma, piecing himself back together both literally and figuratively.
Precisely. That workshop becomes this space of healing, a confrontation with the demons he's carrying, but also maybe clinging to that familiar comfort of creation amidst the chaos he's just experienced. And here's the kicker. Stark doesn't come out of that cave just physically changed. His whole perspective's been rocked.
He doesn't want a better suit. He wants a better world, or at least one where his company isn't the one fueling the fires. And that's where the real fight begins, right? It's like having this epiphany in a cave is one thing, but taking on, well, the whole system, that's a whole other battleground.
It cuts to the core of the conflict, doesn't it? Stark's newfound sense of responsibility going head-to-head with this deeply entrenched system he's always benefited from. Think about that scene, him declaring Stark Industries is out of the weapons business.
Oof. Yeah, the pushback is almost instant.
It's palpable. The board, the investors, even Rhodey, to an extent.
Yeah.
They represent the status quo he's threatening.
And it would have been so easy for him to just, suit up and fly away from all that.
The easy way out.
Exactly, but he digs in. And that, I think, really speaks volumes about how deeply this whole experience shook him.
It's the internal struggle, isn't it? Reconciling the man he was with the hero he wants to be. And the path. Well, it's rarely a straight line, is it?
And speaking of complicated, let's talk about Obadiah Stane, because he's not your typical mustache-twirling villain.
Not at all.
There's a history there, a complexity to their relationship. You get the sense they weren't always at odds.
Stane is fascinating because he represents the road not taken, the what if that Stark could easily have become.
It's like looking into a funhouse mirror, almost.
Ambition, without conscience, profit over people, everything Stark is now trying to atone for.
You can see glimmers of Stark's own past in Stane's ruthlessness, and I think that's what makes him such a compelling villain. He's not just this external threat. He's a manifestation of Stark's own internal demons, the things he fears he's still capable of.
And don't forget the irony of it all. Stark wants out of the weapons game, but he's forced to build one in that cave just to survive. Then he comes back to find his own company has been complicit in the very violence he's trying to prevent.
It's brutal. Like the universe is holding up a mirror and saying, nope, you can't escape who you are, Tony.
But maybe also you have the power to change.
Right. And I think it's really interesting how the evolution of the Iron Man suit kind of mirrors this whole thing.
Oh, how so?
Well, look at the Mark I. Powerful, yeah, but clunky. Rough around the edges. Kind of like Stark himself at that point. But as he grapples with these moral dilemmas, as he confronts Stain and the darkness within himself, the suit changes too.
I see, yeah.
By the time we get to Mark III, it's sleek, refined, almost elegant. It's like he's shedding that old skin, becoming something, well, better.
The visual representation of that internal transformation.
Exactly. But even with all the high-flying action and cool tech, the film never lets us forget. Underneath it all, there's a human being wrestling with some really heavy stuff.
Guilt, trauma, the responsibility of it all.
Right, and that's what makes him relatable, right? He's not just this invincible superhero. He screws up, he's trying to find his way, just like the rest of us.
Flood.
And that's never more apparent than in the climax. Because think about it, it's not even Stain's Ironmonger suit that almost kills him. It's his own creation, that arc reactor, the very thing keeping him alive.
It's a brilliant plot device when you think about it.
Isn't it?
Because it starts confronting the limitations of his own genius.
Yeah.
He's so used to relying on his intellect, his inventions, but in that moment, he's completely vulnerable.
And who's there to help him pull through?
Pepper.
The one person who's seen in all the good, the bad, the downright ugly sides of Tony Stark. I think that speaks volumes, don't you? That even when you feel like you're falling apart, that human connection, that love, that compassion,
Right.
it can be your saving grace.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And it really drives home the film's message. True heroism isn't about the bells and whistles, the technology, the power. It's about the choices we make when things get tough.
And speaking of choices, that ending. Talk about a mic drop moment. Tony Stark standing there in front of the whole world saying, "I am Iron Man." It's like the opposite of what you'd expect.
It's a bold move, rejecting the secrecy, owning his past, his mistakes, even the consequences of it all.
It's like he's saying, this is who I am, like it or not, and I'm not hiding from it. Which, when you really think about the world we're living in today with all its messiness,
It's a powerful statement.
it really is. It really makes you think, doesn't it? About the timing of it all. Here we are, almost 20 years later, looking back at a film that came out in the thick of it, the war on terror, all that anxiety.
And how those anxieties, that context, shaped not just the film, but probably how audiences connected with Stark's journey in the first place.
Right, like back in 2008, did that ending, that declaration of I am Iron Man, did it land differently? Did it feel reckless, hopeful?
It's a testament to the film's power that it still sparks these questions all these years later. Because it's not just a superhero story, is it? It's about our own relationship with power, with technology, with the responsibility that comes with wielding those things.
And how those relationships themselves have changed. The world in 2008 is not the world of 2024. We've got different anxieties now, different challenges.
And yet that core dilemma Stark wrestles with, trying to be better, do better, even when the world keeps pulling you back into the shadows.
That's something we probably all grapple with on some level.
And that's why Iron Man endures, I think. Because it's not about invincibility. It's about that struggle, that vulnerability. It's about looking at your flaws and still saying, I'm going to try to be something more.
So from partying playboy to prisoner in a cave to a hero who refuses to hide, it's quite the arc.
It really is.
And it reminds us that heroism, well, it's not always pretty, is it? It's messy, it's complicated.
And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is just own who you are, flaws and all. Let the world see you.
And on that note, we're reaching the end of our own deep dive into the world of Iron Man. Big thanks to you for joining us as we unpacked all of this, the heroism, the responsibility, the evolving relationship we have with the things we create.
It's a conversation worth having.
It really is. And until next time, remember, the world needs all kinds of heroes, even the flawed ones. Keep questioning, keep discovering, and we'll see you on the deep dive.